fast, secure the bag. Don't even blink, make them walk the plank. Light them up, let's make them sing. Fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. Go Bucs, yeah, we on. Fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. The whole field's our red zone. Let me give you 55 reasons why this is our season. Palm trees breezing, opposing teams bleeding.
All right, welcome back to Buc What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buc What You Heard. You follow me, I will follow you back. Hey, it's an exciting time to be a Buccaneer fan. It is playoff week going into Monday. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be facing the Philadelphia Eagles, and that should be a very interesting game. And tonight, I'm joined by my special co-host here. I'm going to start at the top next to me, Mr. David Wash. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Got my Bucs Hawaiian shirt on. I'm looking forward to Monday night, where it's time to eat. You know, I know Eagles are a wonderful
No, they're not.
bird, but it's time to cook them up.
Yeah, they probably should have been a pigeon or something. They just don't really represent that city as much as they really are. Such a majestic bird should. And I'm also joined by my man KB Ken Barrett, not to be mistaken for Shaq Barrett. How you doing, man?
I am good. I'm trying not to read the tea leaves because everything points to the Bucs should be in at least the best shape you could possibly ask for, but we know it's never that easy.
Now the Bucs never make it easy, so just keep that in mind. I think I was on with you, David, right before the Saints game, and I did say the Bucs never make it easy on themselves.
That's right. No, they never do.
So I'm just excited. You know, it's been I don't know how many years that the Bucs had such a playoff drought, and then all of a sudden the Bucs come in, they win a Super Bowl, and you know they're going to the playoffs, and here we are with a different quarterback, and the Bucs are going to the playoffs. And if it weren't for the Bucs, I mean, you look at Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles would not have a winning record, but Todd Bowles, I think, is at 500, maybe. I think it's at 500, 17, I believe. Yeah. Something close to that, somewhere around there. So, again, so many people have so much to be thankful for. And guys, what is the highlight of the week? What are you so looking forward to with this upcoming game? And David, I'm going to start with you.
I think it's redemption. It needs to be redemption from week number 3, when the Eagles basically, the defense thought that they were going to throw all over us, and then they just ran down our throats. Yeah. So I think it's got to be redemption. The defensive line, the linebackers are going to do their darndest to stop the run, and then see what happens from there. You know. Yeah.
I will say this defense does not resemble the defense of week 3. I can tell you that right now for a fact. That's going to be a factor. I hope that works to our advantage. KB, what are your thoughts?
Man, just want it. I mean, like, you had 2 chances to put this away. You lay an egg at home against New Orleans. You barely put away the Panthers when, you know, they had 17 points taken off the board. Could have lost that one. As David mentioned, you got some redemption there. You got a quarterback who can't grip a football, so it's all going to be who wants it more, whether it's on the trenches, the offense, if they want to score some 7s instead of 3s. It's just if the Bucs actually want this game, again, you can't just show up. You got to move these big boys off the ball in the offensive line, because as David mentioned, DeAndre Swift just became the offense when they couldn't do anything. Well, Jalen Hurts isn't going to throw 2 interceptions this game because I don't even think he's going to pass much. So it's going to be one in the trenches. It's going to be one on offense putting 7s up. And we struggled with that the first time we played them, and we've been struggling that for the past 2 weeks. And it's just, I mean, you gotta show up and you gotta move some people because what they're doing right now isn't working.
Yeah. I will say this. I'm just glad that the Bucs are playing in Tampa and they're not in Kansas City. Jeez Louise, yeah. That is ridiculous. It's supposed to be like
15 degrees or something.
Yes.
I mean,
well, isn't Buffalo supposed to have like 40-mile-per-hour winds and like 5 degrees as well? Yeah, or did I mix up that in Kansas City?
No, Kansas City's like they're like negative a wind chill, what, -30 in wind chill or something to that effect. It's
Oh,
filthy
okay.
there, and I'm going to tell you right now in Kansas City, having gone to KU, man, it's when it gets cold, and that cold is unforgiving. I wouldn't want any parts of that. Catching a football's like catching a cinder block, so that's gonna be an interesting game too. But kind of getting back to the Bucs and what they have to look forward to, the weather will be a lot more pleasant, and I think this is a great time that you have a lot more people that are healthy to actually come in and contribute. So um, the Bucs have to win this game and not defeat themselves. I think, personnel wise, I look at the Bucs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. They have to play a complete game like they did against the Green Bay Packers, or something to that effect. They have all facets of the game have to be working.
Turnovers.
Oh, absolutely,
The
absolutely.
Bucs have struggled. I mean, other than the Packers and the Jaguars game, I mean, take those two offensive, juggernaut games off the books. I mean, most of the games won this season is when we've won the turnover battle.
Yeah. And I think, again, you have the emergence of players like Yaya Diaby, who's been playing out of his mind. And then you have, Levante David. And Levante David has played a complete season. We've been saying that for years. I think as Bucs fans, we're spoiled, just having a Levante David on this team year after year, Mr. Consistency when he's healthy.
Yeah, but Devin White's going to be the key to this game, though. I mean, Devin White, we saw what happened, with the Ravens last year. I mean, Jason Kelsey, Devin's the Mike linebacker here. He's going to be called out all night. The offensive line's going to be responsible for him, and we know Jason Kelsey is a Hall of Famer. If you caught his podcast with his brother pissed him off. Jason Kelsey's going to come into this game ready to play. He's not going to be messing around, and I think they're going to target Devin White, whether it be in the run game or the pass game. He's got to really step up because KJ Britt's hurt, and it's going to be the Devin White show.
Yeah, it really has to be. I mean, you got to, like KGH for life is saying, you got to run him downhill. He's got to go hunt the quarterback. That's playing to his strengths, and that's what they need to do. He's got to get home.
Which is crazy because Todd Bowles did it to perfection against the Jaguars. He's had his best game since the 2020 Super Bowl run, and then all of a sudden he went back to the same old stuff.
Yeah,
it's like
I think he's overthinking it, man. Yeah. What do they call it when my grandma always said overcooking the grits? That's kind of what he's doing. Just let him play to his strengths. Let's see what he can do. These are the things where he excels at, and I feel that they're like hamstringing him by what the way they're utilizing him outside of that Jaguars game, as you mentioned.
Well, you don't want him to get one-dimensional, though. If you just keep, if he just keeps going up there and blitzing, they're going to do these short dinks and dunks right over him, and then they're going to get those yards. So, I understand why Todd's doing what he's doing. It's just not doing it very well.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I know that they mix up their plays and they try to confuse the quarterback, but still, just trying to get him a little bit more involved would be such a huge advantage for the Bucs to really get pressure and force the offensive line to be honest, and have to account for him in a lot more plays.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of go around here. Have we heard, how is Baker Mayfield doing? Is he healthy, or do we know where Baker Mayfield is right now? As far as, I don't think he practiced today, but
yeah, he did practice. I just saw on Twitter that they did a walkthrough, and he walked through it, and that was about it. It wasn't any movement, full pads or anything. It was just a walkthrough. But no, they have him as he did not practice, according to what all the big ones, Almond and all those guys, what they post. KB, did you see anything different?
No, it's going to be all about his ankle. So the rib thing, obviously that's going to be an issue. But right now, the biggest ailment from across the board from everyone that I talked to is it's the ankle. How mobile is he going to be? How is he going to be able to maneuver around the pocket? that's what he really injured the most in the Carolina game. And there's even been talks that Dave Canales probably threw a little too much than what the original game plan was scripted to, and that's where Baker probably struggled and also checked to a bunch of runs, was because that ankle just apparently wasn't right.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say about this too, I think Rachaad White was like 10 yards off a 1,000-yard season, which is kind of depressing. But
Well, I honestly think you're going to get a very heavy dose of Rachaad White, and he's been playing better. If you go back and look at the first Eagles game, he had 38 yards rushing and 24 yards receiving. That was it. And he's done a whole lot better. I didn't look at the stats for the last couple of games, but I mean, like you said, he was pushing 1,000 yards rushing on the up to that last game. I mean, 10 yards short of it. So I'm thinking that's going to be a big part of Canales' game plan going on. And again, we'll just see how Baker does, and we'll go from there. I mean, it may be Trask time, it may not be. It just depends on how well Baker can handle the pain.
yeah, and kind of going back to what I was talking about off camera, and I know I'm probably one of the few that's saying this, but I think that Carolina was playing the way they were in Tampa with their personnel. I really believe this would have been the time that you could have put Trask in and given Baker a little bit more rest, just because some of the throws were just really awkward. And I feel like, you got a healthy second stringer, he's there for a reason. And, you want to kind of get, Baker ready. And I realize the importance of the game, but still, just kind of sometimes a unhealthy quarterback can be a hindrance to a team. So it's kind of how I was looking at it, but I could be wrong there.
Well, and to all the Canales haters out there, here's some ammunition for you. As the game started, Bucs did a lot, obviously, in shotgun with, Rachaad White next to him. Their first third down, they go empty. Baker gets hit. Next thing you know, Baker for 2.5 quarters could barely complete a pass.
Yeah.
That first hurry, that first hit, obviously he had the ribs, and then later go on to injure the ankle. But ever since they were able to get pressure with empty, which I didn't agree with going empty really at any point. I thought that was a really bad idea. I thought that was the worst game you could do it. Carolina's biggest strength on their roster was the defensive line. So if anyone wants to be mad at Canales, I'll give you that ammunition there.
There you go. Yeah, Kevin, it looks like Todd Bowles will be around next season. I don't see anything that would prevent him from being here again next season. I don't know about you guys, but the fact that, they were $81 million under the cap, they put together a personnel package that actually worked for them to win the NFC South and get to the playoffs. Just despite how they got there, the Bucs were able to get there. So, sadly, and again, I go back and forth with Todd Bowles, and, I don't really know. I'm not even 100% sure what to make of him. I mean, one minute you're confident, and we see the fourth down bowls. We love fourth down bowls, and then next thing you know, we see New York Jets bowls. So it's like, it's kind of hard to put your finger on who you're seeing, to be honest.
And if I remember right, there's 12 teams already that are looking for head coaches.
I thought it was 7 or 8.
So Seattle. Yeah, it's up there.
You got Seattle, New England. You've got
Atlanta. Carolina. Is Carolina?
Yeah,
Carolina, Atlanta.
Okay.
That's 4. Tennessee, Vrabel.
Yep.
5.
And we already mentioned Seattle, right?
Yes.
Man, we're all about 1,000 tonight.
I don't know how we got to this point. But yeah, you're right. There are quite a few here that are, openings here for coaches here. I'm looking it up right now.
I guess the Raiders.
Oh, Chargers, Seattle, New England. G Vegas, thank you. And yeah, so Vegas. I can't believe Vegas. Vegas is kind of frustrating for me because I felt like their interim head coach has done a great job and he got the team to buy in. I don't understand that. I don't know. Are you trying to get Harbaugh there, or I'm not quite sure what's going on. So Vegas, Chargers, Seattle, New England, Tennessee, Atlanta, Carolina. Did we miss anybody?
No, I think that's all of them.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how all these positions get filled. So, yeah, that's just crazy. Seattle was the biggest shocker for me. Just seeing Seattle was like, it's like, wow, what's going on here? But again, Pete Carroll is walking away, and he's had a good career, great NFL career, great college career. So that's congrats to that. And then with Belichick, do you think Belichick retires? I mean, is that a possibility, or has he mentioned where he's going to go next? I mean, some of these coaches, I'm just like, man, you're the game has kind of passed you by. And and I guess Belichick is a great example of that. When Tom Brady left, I don't know, Belichick just didn't look like the same guy that he did throughout the dynasty.
Belichick will be coaching.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
Belichick, he's gonna go wherever he wants to go.
Yeah,
that's what they did it. It's the respect thing, which is what a lot like when Sean Payton got traded. And like Bruce Arians, that's more of like logistics versus Belichick comes with that cachet. It's like if Jim Harbaugh was still in the NFL, it's like you let those guys just kind of, the ones especially with the egos, you just let them pick wherever they want as opposed to trying to sell them off to the highest bidder because then they can just block the trade.
Oh yeah, the Washington Commanders, Riverboat Ron.
Oh yeah, I knew we forgot one.
Yeah, so yeah, there we go. But again, I kept hearing people talking about, Tampa getting Belichick, and I'm like, there's no way, because this guy wants personnel. He wants the ability to, pick personnel, and you've got Jason Light here, who, by the way, I don't know who you would replace a Jason Light with.
The only thing there is Jason Light has the relationship with him. So I'm not saying it. I think it's at this point it's not going to happen. But I'm just saying if there's a GM that would be under consideration, it would be Jason Light, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, see, Belichick as the coach was really, really, a goat. He was great. Mm-hmm. Belichick as the guy in charge of the team, not so well. You look at New England is just, they're bare bones right now.
Yeah.
People don't go look at New England's, past 5 years in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been bad. People want to badmouth Jason Light for hitting and miss, but when you compare him to other general managers' body of work for similar times, with a team, I don't know who you could really compare Jason Light to in the NFL right now.
Eagles and Bills. That's about it.
And yeah, I can't. Well, yeah, Eagles, Bills. Yeah, especially the Bills, considering what they've done. But, the Bills actually hit on a franchise quarterback. I think it's the one thing that Tampa has eluded Tampa that I'm hoping at some point it doesn't. But, that's the one thing that's kind of alluded to them. It's just that. So I kind of want to.
One franchise quarterback ever. That's all we've had. We've had one.
Doug Williams?
3 years. No, one for 3 years.
No, I'm talking about one that's been drafted.
I know, but he's the only quarterback we've ever extended. That's why I was having.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, so that doesn't really count, I don't think. I'm talking about drafted. Steve Young, no. Testaverde, no. I guess Doug Williams would be the only one that I can think of that. But they didn't even extend Doug Williams. I think they let Doug Williams.
where I'll give the Bills especially the credit is, yeah, you mentioned they found the franchise quarterback. They, like the Chiefs also, they moved up and secured him. But unlike the Chiefs, what they figured out to do was how to draft well and have sustained success for several years versus being, sometimes like the Eagles right now might be a one-hit wonder after you extend Jalen. And, what happens with A.J. Brown now, he went full Jameis. Like, we'll figure out that there.
You know what? I do want to talk about this real quick. And I know you got to jump for a second, KB. But I want to go around here and get everybody's thoughts on, and I'm going to start with myself. And I think I shared this analogy with David before the show went on about how Jameis kind of went rogue. And you got a lot of players around the NFL that are like, oh, he's a great teammate. But as a parent, if you think about this as a parent, I think Shannon Sharp had made this analogy, and I love this analogy. If you have kids and they're teenagers, and you and your wife decide, hey, we're going to go out on date night, and you're like, hey, you guys are going to stay in the house, don't go anywhere unless it's a life or death, then you do what you have to do. And the kids decide after you've gone, they get together, huddle up, and they're like, you know what? I'm 16, I've got my driver's license, we've been doing good in school, we deserve to go to the movies. Everybody, let's go to the movies. We're making an executive decision, we're going to the movies. So kids go to the movies, parents come back, kids aren't there, they're freaking out. Kids come back. Are you upset with them for disobeying what you told them to do on something that has no effect? Well, it can be bad, or it can be like really bad. Or as a parent, would you be upset with your kids if they just decided to make an executive decision or a team decision to do something that went against what you specifically told them not to do? And
I'd be pissed. I'll tell you that.
Exactly. And
they would be grounded.
Hey, we are joined by Joshua Cole Allen, my man with the plan, the guy with all of the amazing interviews on his podcast. Be sure to check him out. If you're not following him, be sure to follow him on Twitter. Joshua Cole Allen, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well, man. Just getting ready to have some dinner. Had a couple of minutes free time. Figured I'd pop in and say what's up.
I appreciate you. So how would you feel, man? I mean, you got kids.
Kids would be grounded. I'd be pissed by that. That's it. You're done. Oh, you like to play? You like to play on your technology, phones, Xbox, iPads? Gone. You're done. Read a book. You're done.
Exactly.
Deliberately, it's like Mufasa. You deliberately disobeyed me. You're done.
And that's what it comes down to. Could you imagine if an offensive lineman got hurt because you ran this play instead of taking a knee? I mean, there's so many things that could have gone left on that. Yeah, fortunately it didn't. Nobody got hurt. I understand that, but there's so much that could have happened, especially, you're sitting there in the victory formation, and I can promise you, the Atlanta Falcons have
sneaky game too. That's just sneaky.
The Atlanta Falcons have this game circled on both of those games circled on 2024 calendar. So, KB, what are your thoughts, man?
Well, I think we've all heard there's crime and then there's punishment. But from a football X's and O's standpoint, I mean, you're a coach, right? I mean, you don't want, players to go rogue, and the whole goal of a backup quarterback is to be the safe option. That's why Kyle Trask isn't playing. He doesn't have that type of trust for Todd Bowles, even when Baker, is injured and not able to play the best of his ability. But Jameis, I mean, that's a blowout scenario. You're supposed to be able to come in, do what the coach tells you, and then move on to the next game. But unfortunately, Jameis doesn't share that, and that speaks to Dennis Allen's, maybe lack of, control of the team. There's been some stories that have come out from people who've covered him in the past, and that either way, if Dennis Allen's the coach for the Saints, I know Jameis has a cuttable contract right now. He's due I thought it was a typo this morning when Nick Underhill sent it. It's like 100 and something million. Something crazy if they keep him. It's a dummy contract.
Yeah.
But the whole point is, as long as Dennis Allen's the coach, I just don't see Jameis coming back.
I just don't see Jameis going anywhere, honestly.
I agree.
I mean, what GM in his right mind would say, you know what? Hey, we're going to put our backup. You're going to be the backup, and we're going to trust you to do the right thing when the coach tells you what to do. And this just shows that he can't be trusted.
All right, sure, the players love you. You get the respect from players around some of the players in your locker room. I don't necessarily know about around the league, especially running it out of a victory formation. But yeah, Jameis Winston's time in the NFL is likely over. There might be a team, that is just grasping at straws there, but he's shown to be an ineffective starter when put in that position. Turnover plays, bonehead plays, and then you have this type of situation. So yeah, bye-bye, Jameis.
So it kind of begs the question: when Jameis was with Tampa, and I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but is there possible that he went rogue a few times with the Bucs? Is that
I wouldn't be
is that a
surprised.
possibility?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Bruce Arians was done with him at the end of the season. Like, he was. You could just the press conferences. I would not be surprised if sometimes he went rogue in Tampa.
Wow, that's just crazy. So JCA, what's going on, man? What are your thoughts for the playoffs? And what have you heard from the team? I mean, how is the atmosphere with the Bucs right now?
Yeah, they're locked in. They know what's at stake. The leaders who have been on this team, who have been in the playoffs the last couple of years, are bringing these young guys in and kind of letting them know, hey, do what you're doing normally, like the normal game week, but just know that any reserve, any gas you have left in the tank, any spare needs to be emptied this week. And, it's utmost importance to play with sound technique, to play within the rules of the game, and to go out there and do all you can to move on to the next game. This Bucs team doesn't pay attention to the noise, to the outside media. They've always thought that they had the opportunity. One of the big selling points for Baker even coming here is the talent on the roster. They didn't pay attention. Sure, they probably used it as a chip on their shoulder, and Bull said as much. But at the same time, they know what they had. They know it was in the building, and they knew that they had an opportunity to go out there and win the NFC South and potentially compete. The first step is the South. Second step is the Super Bowl. So that's what they're focused on, and getting past the Eagles, who are banged up and are dealing with injuries and dealing with some drama and bad juju throughout that locker room. And that, Jalen Hurts came out and said, yeah, we pretty much did the same thing. They called an audible on that final play. That was a decision made by them. It was not the play that was called. So there's some tension definitely in that locker room. They have to come down here. The weather's looking like it could be inclement. And this is not the Bucs team they faced in week 3. The offense is, even though it wasn't clicking the last 2 games, it's in a much better place now. And I think they have a real shot at upsetting the Eagles and moving on the divisional round. And, if for whatever reason the Rams beat the Lions and they draw the Cowboys, Cowboys are known to choke in the divisional round. So, we could be it's don't put the cart before the horse, but there's potentially a possibility that, this team could end up being in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah. With some of the injuries, I know that Tristan Wirfs had an illness. It wasn't an actual injury. He should be. How is he looking? Is he going to be fine for the game?
Yeah. I think everyone should be fine to play. The only one really monitoring right now is going to be KJ Britt, dealing with that calf injury. They said he did not practice today, but he was taking some walkthrough reps on special teams. But that's only during the media portion viewing of practice. Yesterday he sat out. We'll get a better picture tomorrow, and then of course on Saturday is the tell-all be-all. But I'm pretty sure that they're going to be close to full strength. Everyone's dealing with bumps and bruises and everything at this time of the season, but they'll be close to full strength come Monday night.
Yeah, this is exciting times again. So for you, anything else that you could kind of share with the fans? I mean, listeners, just in your kind of walking through Todd Bowles, how is he? Where is his head at as far as this game? This game is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, the team knows exactly what's at stake here, right? Todd knows what's at stake here. The Glazers want to see improvement from this team, and they made it to the playoffs last year. Obviously, they did it with the losing record. This year, they did it with a winning record. But they want to see improvement. They want to see that, okay, this is not only a coach who can get us there, but can get us over the hump and win us a game in the playoffs. And especially with all the situations surrounding this team this year, with the almost $80 million in dead cap space, having to start multiple rookies, 3 rookies ended up starting the beginning, 4 when you count in Yaya after week 10. The undrafted players who are counted on to make an impact. So, what they've done this season with what they had to work with is remarkable. I think Jason Light deserves GM of the year, at least to be in the running. And I think when you look at what, sure, there were some hiccups, there were some bad parts there. They start off hot, go through that losing streak in the middle of the season, but then kind of turn it around and find a way to win 5 out of 6 and lock up the division, even though it came down to the wire, and it certainly wasn't pretty, but that's improvement, and that's what that Glazers team. So for Todd, reports came that there's a mystery team looking at Belichick who hasn't fired their coach and may still be in the playoffs, whether that's the Cowboys, whether you want to speculate that's the Bucs and Belichick would even want to come here. It's a big stepping stone for Todd to get over that hump and win a game in the playoff. But, as far as the rest of the coaches, the rest of the guys in that building, they're laser focused, they're dialed in, and they're going to compete their ass off. And, we'll see what the outcome is. And, I think the Bucs have a really good shot at winning this game. I'll know a little bit more about my official prediction as the week trends. It looks like AJ Brown didn't practice. Devontae Smith's going to play.
Reed Blankenship with that groin.
Right, with the safeties. So down 2 safeties already with Sidney Brown going out for the season. So that pass defense is terrible, but it's all going to come down to the lines. That's what it's going to come down to is, can the Bucs get penetration against that great offensive line for the Eagles, and can they stop that great defensive line, that front 7 that the Eagles have with their, the rotational guys they have in that are starters on other teams. So if they can hold up in the lines, establish some sort of ground game, especially because it's going to be wet, likely forecasts are predicting, and they've got a good shot at winning this game. But it's going to be, can't be anything like we've seen earlier in the season when the Bucs are beating themselves with penalties and dumb plays. They've got to be on their P's and Q's because
this has got to be like a Green Bay. This has got to be a Green Bay type game.
Yeah, or maybe even a Jacksonville type game. I mean, the intensity's ramped up for both teams. It's win or go home. And I know the Bucs have been in that mentality for a while now, and the Eagles certainly haven't been after starting 10-1. So we'll see, if the Eagles can lock into that mentality, where the Bucs have had that mentality for the last 4 weeks now.
Yeah. So one last question for you, and I'm hogging up all the time here, but is there a possibility that if things go left with this playoff game, that the Bucs could pull the trigger potentially on another head coach coming in? Because there are a plethora of head coaches out there available.
I've maintained that no, I don't think so. And after being at that Green Bay game and watching the embrace that the Glazers gave Todd, it seems like a relationship that they really like. Everyone in the building really likes Todd, and I think they, as much as anyone, understand the Super Bowl credit card debt, right? Understand that last year he was thrown a team in the middle of April or the middle of March, whatever, end of March, whatever it was, and that he hasn't really been able to put his stamp on this team and compete with the way that he wants it. Last year was Bruce Arians' team still. As much as, he wanted it to be his and took over as head coach and tried to do things, it wasn't a complete turnaround until this season. And then you're strapped with all this cap space. Now, Jason Light and crew went out and found some gems, and Chase McLaughlin and some of these rookies, and then drafted guys and some of these role players, on defense. But he still hasn't had that chance that most head coaches get to come into a situation where you take over as head coach and you're able to kind of build the roster that you want to. So, I think he's done enough, but you never know. The Glazers, they don't talk to anybody. They don't, they're not ones to get in front. They're not Jim Irsay. They're not Robert Kraft. They're not talking to the media. They're
totally
doing any of
behind the
these
scenes.
right.
Behind the scenes.
Right. So, you never know what they're thinking. And at the end of the day, this was explained to me recently in a way that I think that Fans need to look at it. It's a show business. You know, what are they going to do to get seats and butts? They've got a 70,000 stadium that they got to fill. Is that going to be Todd Bowles? Is that going to be Baker Mayfield, or there moves they can make to get a hype around the franchise, excitement around the franchise? Certainly, Bill Belichick would bring that. I don't know if any of the other candidates. I don't think Ben Johnson gets fans out of their seats. I don't know if Mike Vrabel gets fans out of their seats, you know, on Sundays to go to the stadium. But Bill Belichick would, and I think if they're going to make a change, it would be from a commitment from Bill. But I don't know if Bill would want to follow up Brady down here either. Anyways, and then there's always does he want to give up control of the roster where Jason Light's been in place for so long with his team, with Mike and Jacqueline Davidson and John Spytek. You know, I think they could kind of work lockstep. But again, end of the day, Bill gets final say. So anywhere he's going to go likely. So is that something he wants to do? You know, or does he not want to even build up a whole front office, scouting staff, all that? Because as a general manager, that's your job. You know, you're building the whole staff, not just your coaching staff. So does he want to go somewhere where he can just coach and get those 15 wins and let the drafting and free agent roster building obviously have a say, but ultimately come down to a guy like Jason? Yeah, maybe that's enticing to him. But hey, we'll see. I think he's the only name that they would move on from Todd Bowles for if they got a hard commitment from Bill. Nice.
Hey man, thanks a lot. When is your next show?
Stay tuned. I'm not quite sure. I had a cancellation on Tuesday, unfortunately, with a pretty big name. You know, he was too busy making some buns, so couldn't get him on.
You could have got me in there, man. I would have just been just as big to build the shoes, bro.
But I'm working on some things. I got some commitments for after the season, so we'll see how everything plays out, and we'll go from there. But I'll be back with a new show. Until then, catch up on all my latest. I got Shaq Barrett on there. 2 weeks ago, Zion McCollum, Rashad White, all great interviews. And obviously you can find all my work at Sports Illustrated and my Twitter handle, JCL and NFL, your one-stop shop for all Bucs coverage.
Joshua, thank you so much as always, man. Friend of the show, longtime friend of the show. And it's just amazing to see your growth and what you are doing and what you'll continue to do. I want to thank you for jumping on with us.
Appreciate it. And as always, Gene, always send that link, and if I can make it, I'll be here.
All right. Appreciate you, brother.
Later.
All right, guys. That was Joshua Coallen. If you're not following, you really need to. He's a wealth of information, and he will talk football with you. He's not one of these snobby fuddy-duddies that'll, they'll look at your tweet and not answer it, or he will engage with the listeners. So he's a great resource and, great asset to have here in Tampa. So just kind of getting back to it, just kind of going around the league with the rest of the playoff games. What are your thoughts? And I want to start with this Kansas City game. And, Kansas City and Miami. That game right there is the most intriguing, and I'm really shocked that wasn't a Monday night game.
That should have been a Monday night game. I think that's going to be Kansas City is, I think, favored, even though Miami is typically the hotter offense, but because of the weather, I mean, and all their wide receivers are hurt. They're all hobbling, so they're not able to utilize that speed, especially in the cold weather, so I really think that, just depends on who's going to have a better running game. It's probably what it's going to end up down to.
Yeah. And, I do want to talk about this, and I'm getting back up on my soapbox because I'm really confused by the NFL. And you look at the NFL, they're trying to get their product in Europe, in Brazil, and other places. They're trying to really expand their product. But for a playoff game, they've got it on Peacock. You can only watch certain games on Peacock. NBC is to me a failed sports network when it comes to the NFL, just because of the way they do business. And to me, nobody's going to waste their time getting the Peacock app just so they can watch one playoff game. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I just don't understand what the NFL is doing. KB, I know that you've got the YouTube NFL Sunday Ticket. How has that been for you?
I told you, man. I live and die by YouTube TV. It's the best interface.
I've got Peacock, so I can watch it. So.
Sorry,
I'm one of those streamers that I will rotate. Like
Huh.
rotate. Like I don't. If anyone's out there listening, I don't password share at all ever, especially with any of my siblings. Don't do that.
No.
But one of the few that isn't on rotation is like Peacock. Forgot what the like Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
So like I'll just like rotate one of those like whenever. So I guess this month will be Peacock.
Well, there you go, man. Just
$5
right on
A
time.
lot of times they have deals. I mean, I think we're paying like $2 a month for it because
really?
we got some deal. I think it was
Black
last
Friday.
month, or maybe it was Black Friday or something. But just keep an eye out for those other streaming services, and sometimes it's worth. Hey, because I don't have cable, I don't have satellite. I do all my stuff streaming.
Yeah, me too. That's strictly what I do. And again, with everything's going up in price, and they're starting to add commercials to everything, and you got to pay extra if you want to get rid of commercials. And
It's like it turned into something that we had before, Gene.
Yeah. What was that? Cable?
I went to streaming. I'm someone who will pay the extra $5 for no ads. But
Exactly.
once you do
That's
that
me.
for 6 different places, I'm paying the same as I did with cable.
Because it doesn't make any sense. It just is crazy. But I think the NFL, they need to really hire me because I've got so many good ideas. For example, whatever city is hosting the Super Bowl, they should host the draft. And that way, at the beginning of the season, you get familiar with the location of the Super Bowl, get an idea. Hey, we're coming back here for the Super Bowl. This is where it's going to be at, and you run a whole thing for that city. And I think it would work out. But again, maybe with some of the cold climate cities that don't really get to host the Super Bowl, maybe that may be the reason they don't do it. But I think it's a good idea, just having the draft wherever you have the Super Bowl. I think will make a big difference, or the Pro Bowl, one of the two.
I got a theory there. Which one would you be more willing to pay to go see, Gene?
Super Bowl.
Okay, but for the average fan.
For the average fan, just getting to go to the draft. I mean, the majority of it's free, I think, isn't it?
So from that standpoint, I think it's a good idea because I think you can get more fans involved in that city.
Right.
However, the NFL doesn't think that way.
No, not at all.
They want everything to be in Vegas or LA. Like that's just what they're trying to do now.
But if
didn't
you
they
think
change where they're doing the combine at? Didn't they change that last year or two?
No,
years
it's still
ago?
going to be at Indianapolis.
Indianapolis,
They talked
yeah.
about it, but they're not budging on that one.
And again, that's what I'm saying. These are opportunities. Even the combine. If you didn't want to do the draft, you could do the combine in the host city of the Super Bowl.
But think about this: if I'm a prospect, there's no bleeping way I'm going to want to do it in Kansas City, Missouri, or Green Bay, Wisconsin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In April, it's still cold.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
also, my times are not comparable when the same players have ran on the same surface for 30 years. So if I'm the next Tyreek Hill, if I run a 4.29, there's a big difference between running 4.29 in Kansas City versus running 4.22 in Indianapolis.
This is true. It's very true. And that's
a lot of money you can lose.
Because what's really funny, and again, this is more of a positive here. When I watched Jameis Winston, and again, I had to go back to him as my example. I watched him run the 40, and I think he ran like a 7 or 8 or 10 or 20 or something like that.
Give Jameis credit; he ran a 5.
But when you watch him on the field making plays with his legs, this is probably when plays would break down or whatnot. He made football plays. He was a football player out there making plays with his legs, despite that speed. So I get the 40 time in certain aspects, and in other ones, not so much really. So again, I don't know. I think it's in some ways to me it's kind of overrated, but in other ways I understand it.
Well, the 40 times sexy. It's like when you go to the casino, it's basically like the big high roller table. That's what they want people to spend all their money on.
Like a player getting a sack. It's sexy, but I mean you could get quarterback pressures and do the same and affect a quarterback the same way.
Well, think about it. Just on airtime, now that the combine's a spectacle, what gets more airtime, the 40 or the agility drills?
The 40.
The
Definitely.
40 is it's like the main event, you know.
Yep,
It's
the crown
just
jewel.
what most people, you know, are familiar with. Like if I
We lost you. I think you still there. And a great example of that is Tristan Wirfs running the 40. It was amazing to watch. And he was one of those guys that I personally didn't expect him to end up a Buccaneer, but it was interesting to watch him run that. But KB, you there? Let you finish your thought.
did it not go through?
No, it you got kind of like robotic and then you disappeared.
The
Oh
AI
no,
was
I was just basically saying if we asked like the average fan to run a 3-cone, I don't think most fans know what a 3-cone is. But if you say what a 40 is, most people generally know that's a straight line run.
Yeah, there you go. So
But the
what I
combine
want
is only going to give you, it's only going to give you over the top because everything, most coaches are, excuse me, most of your people that are looking for their team or the players, they're watching tape. And the tape is really what they're basing most of their information on. The combine is just kind of that, over the edge or pull them back on their, when it comes to their rack and stack list.
It's a confirm. It's like, hey, does this, you know, this player look fast on tape or this player look slow on tape? You know, okay, why did this player look slow at the linebacker position but ran a 4.4? That tells
Right.
me something's up. Or, you know, Tyreek Hill is fast on tape. He runs a 4.4. You know, it's okay, was he having a bad day at the combine?
Yeah.
You know, what's the circumstances there because he looked faster on tape? Or it's just like, hey, Devin White's fast on tape. Devin White's fast at the 40. Okay, 5th overall.
Well, they should run with pads, maybe.
Exactly. There you go. But I mean, it's all kind of subjective if you ask me, because I scored a 34 in the Wonderlic, and that doesn't mean anything. I'm a moron. I mean, when it comes right down to it. And you know, just like I said, a lot of this stuff is just kind of it's been in place for so long, and people go by what it is, you know, and it's just like, does it really factor into what this person can do? And I did, you know, want to kind of continue going over here. The Cleveland Browns facing the Houston Texans. That's going to be a really good game. That's one of the games I'm looking forward to. I think Cleveland's defense is going to be on full display on this game. Um, I love CJ Stroud. I love what he's done. He's an incredible story, and I think he's going to be, if he can stay healthy, a big timer in the NFL as they continue to grow and put pieces around him.
Yeah, I mean the team's got still some. They need to grow a lot more, you know. And I mean, who are the Browns on? Their fourth quarterback though,
But their best one,
but
Yeah.
the best one exactly.
Super Bowl
yeah.
MVP. Put some respect on Joe Flacco.
I wonder how is this going to play out when Deshaun Watson is back and healthy, and you've invested like Derek Carr money, more than Derek Carr money.
Well, Joe
in this guy.
Flacco is going to be playing for someone next year for a
Yeah.
team that has a starting quarterback that they drafted in the draft.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So, what do you guys think? Who do you guys have? I'm picking Cleveland. I'm picking the number 5 to.
I'm taking Cleveland.
I'm going to take Houston for one reason and one reason only.
CJ Stroud, baby.
No. I'm going to take their running game.
Oh,
They
Dameon
have-
Pierce is good. Yeah.
He's their
Very
Damian Pierce
it
is their
is very
backup running
underrated. I'll
back
give
right
you that.
now. It's Devin Singletary.
Oh, you're right. I'm
Um,
sorry. Pierce was on IR, isn't he? Yeah.
Well, Pierce is the backup. Last I checked, Devin Singletary won the job where he was running for like 150 yards for 2 out of 3 games that he had started near the end of the year. With the Texans, again, I think everyone's expecting this to be aired out, and I think that's definitely possible. But what Cleveland does defensively is they try to win everything with 4. And if you can get the running game going, they play a lot of 4-2-6. So they're going to be very small on the field. And I think Houston plays that ball control game a lot better than a lot of teams give them credit for. I think people still associate the Browns as having one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL, and that's just not the case. And right now they've been operating on Joe Flacco playing Peyton Manning football, and I just don't know how sustainable that is.
Well, they've been able to lean a lot on their defense, and their defense has been playing pretty good, throughout the season consistently. So
I'd say their front four and Denzel
Yeah.
Ward have.
Yeah.
But I think they also have some holes that can be exploited specifically in the ground game.
But I think with quarterback pressures, they've been able to make the quarterback uncomfortable to the point where it's benefited the secondary and linebacker core. But I just wanted to say, I know you got to jump off here in a minute, KB. Just real quick, I wanted to go through one more for you, and then I will.
Can I choose this one?
Yeah,
because it's
I'll
the
let
one I
you
really
choose.
care about. It's Detroit and LA. That to me is the playoff game that's absolutely must watch. Both teams primarily play in domes, and you're going to have a dome game. You have the Matthew Stafford revenge game. You have the Jared Goff revenge game. You can't write enough storylines for this one.
No.
I'm super excited. I
gonna be
still
bowling
think
shoe ugly.
the Lions are going to edge it out, just because the Rams just don't have that defense. But if Raheem Morris can really, pull this one out, I think we're looking at the next, probably like Washington Commanders, Tennessee Titans type of head coach here.
Yep, I think it's long
Actually
overdue.
asked to interview him.
Yep.
Long overdue for Raheem Morris. I've always thought he's a great football mind, and he was just kind of young at the time that he got that opportunity to be a head coach. So there's that. Well, KB, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, and I'll let you go ahead and jump off here.
Bucs_Barrett.
All right, brother. I will be chatting with you next. Hopefully, we can get you on next Thursday to, kind of follow up. And well, wait a minute. You know what? I will be on my way to Tampa then. So maybe we'll have to do it Friday.
Okay.
All right. And we'll make it work out. Something. I'll let you know. Anyway, you have a good one, man.
Peace, KB.
All right. So the next game I wanted to, we kind of talked about the Miami-Kansas City game. I think Kansas City wins this one walking away. Arrowhead is a hard place to win, just because of just how loud that place is. I think the one memorable game, again, I have to come back to Jameis Winston, but as a Buccaneer fan, was when Tampa played Kansas City at Arrowhead, and they were doing the tomahawk chop that they stole from Florida State, and Jameis felt right at home, and he played through it. I mean, I think it amped him up, because that was probably one of the most complete games I've ever seen from Jameis Winston, was that Kansas City versus Tampa game in Arrowhead. But again, I say this to say this: Kansas City is a hard place to win at. I mean, regardless of how they're playing. I mean, and now that you've got the weather as a factor that's going to help Kansas City. And you look at Miami, guys.
Miami's in the South, South Florida. So
yeah, Florida boys don't deal too well with that cold. So again, this is going to be one of those grinded out. This is not going to be an aerial attack. This is going to be fundamental football. It's going to be on full display, wrapping up, tackling, moving the chains on the ground, the trenches. This is going to be one of those filthy games that, it's just going to be painful to watch. I mean, you're going to be cold sitting in your seat in your warm house just because it's going to be so cold on the field. But to me, I think it's just one of those games that I think Kansas City wins like 9-3.
I can see that. I mean, it's
All
going
right.
to be Rex thinks it's going to be a lot different than that.
Exactly.
31-30, I don't think it's going to be nearly that high scoring at all.
No, I don't think these guys are going to see the end zone like that, because I could tell you what, the wind swirling. And actually, the Bucs play Kansas City. I'm actually going to go to that game next year at Arrowhead, just to, because it's been a long time since I've actually been down that way. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a game that I'll be interested to see. So that should be a really good, exciting game. The next one, Buffalo and Pittsburgh.
This is playing in Buffalo. I'm picking Buffalo. I just think they've got a more complete team overall. Pittsburgh has done well overall, but
I think with the loss of their defensive end, It's just going to be really hard for them. I don't know how they recover on defense. God, why am I drawing a blank on his name? TJ Watt. TJ Watt. Yeah, they're going to be without his services. So Buffalo's playing on a high. They ended the season on a good note, and I believe that they're going to continue to roll. And the AFC is going to be really interesting to see how their season plays out. But yeah, I have Buffalo winning this game. Rex had 14-17 on the Miami Kansas City game. And the next game, Green Bay versus Dallas. And I really believe this is the game that sends Mike McCarthy packing, or at least I hope it does. But no, I take that lie back. I think this is going to be one of those games that Dallas wins and gets that gets all their fan base's hope up, and all the trash talkers come out of the woodwork for this game. It will be Green Bay at Dallas, and anytime that Dallas, they just hate Dallas. Dallas and Atlanta, there are two teams that I just equally interchangeable as far as I'm concerned. But just looking at this team personnel wise, I think Green Bay is still missing. Green Bay is missing some stuff.
Yeah, and Dax is having a Pro Bowl year. Or a MVP year.
Yeah.
He's definitely the team overall. They're doing well, but Green Bay. Look at what Tampa did to them. They just I don't think Jordan Love has done fairly decent for considering. Because they were like, oh, okay, it's not. He's not going to do well. They're almost in the same boat as Tampa is. They're not going to do well. They lost Aaron Rodgers. Hey, we lost Tom Brady. And yet early in the year struggled a little bit, and then Jordan Love has been playing very, very good football the last several games.
So yeah, and I'm with you. I just see this will be an interesting game to follow. I'm excited for it, and I really hope that this will be a competitive game. I hope it's not a blowout. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. And we let KB talk about this Rams Detroit game. I'm of a different mindset. I think with a healthy Matt Stafford, I think the offense. I know the defense isn't what it once was, but they have enough pieces to where I feel like the defense can present a problem for Detroit. And I think that the Rams can put up some numbers. I have the Rams beating Detroit in an upset.
I think that's going to be the opposite. I think it's going to be Detroit over Rams, but it's going to be very similar to Rex said earlier, 31-30. I think it's going to be very close to that. I would have said 31-28. Very close.
This is not going to be a defensive chess match. This is going to be, in my opinion, more of a shootout. So
yeah, and I just think that the Rams. What is his name? Puka. I can't pronounce the guy's name. He's doing very well. Considering he was a third round pick. He's the wide receiver is doing fantastic. But Detroit just seems like an overall team finally. They finally have got the pieces in place that they've always wanted when Matt Stafford was there, that Golf was able to, Golf has been very, very good this year. Very consistent. Let's put it that way.
And I love Dan Campbell. I think Dan Campbell getting his team to buy into what he can do has been huge. And just one of those things. I think that, the team is bought in, and I think it's going to be a great game for the Detroit Lions. But I just think with the personnel that the Rams have, I really believe that they are in a great position to really do some things. So
I think it's gonna be a good game one way or another.
Yeah,
this is definitely a game to watch for sure.
Yeah,
most of the playoff games.
What is Bud Cannibalist was saying? Puka Nukawa is a star in the making. The kid has just been he's been flying under the radar for the majority of the NFL fan base. But if you're a student of the game and you kind of follow the game, you've really seen how he's really come on throughout the year and how consistent he's been. So definitely a good look. And you can't overlook Cooper Kupp and what Cooper Kupp does. He is who he is, and again, I think he's starting to click on the same with starting to click with Matt Stafford, and I really believe that those two guys together they're going to cook up something. Nakua, I'm sorry about that, but thank you, my man. Oh, that's what I keep you around for, bud. You're the brains of this operation, bro. So, yeah, this is just, just kind of how I took it, and again, just kind of the main game, the main course here. We're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday versus the Philadelphia Eagles, and I've long for a long time disliked the Eagles. I mean, going back to Donovan McNabb, going back to shutting down the dump for the NFC Championship, and the Philadelphia Phillies. I could go on and on about how much I dislike the city of brotherly love. It shouldn't be the Eagles, because the eagle is, like you said, such a majestic bird. I think more like a pigeon, or I don't know, a penguin or something. Maybe they should be the Penguins too, but they shouldn't be the Eagles. I'm just saying. But as it stands right now, this is going to be a really good competitive game. This is going to be one of those games that I think that Tampa has to get out of their own way. Tampa has to come out there and do what they need to do, and they need to execute. And everybody, do your fucking job. Do your job. Not worried about what anybody else is doing. Not worried about getting on ESPN or something like that. Go out there, make your plays. You look at Antoine Winfield Jr., which Rex, we're going to get to him in just a minute. That's a guy who's gone out doing his fucking job. He's not trying to overstep or worry about what anybody else is doing. He's playing fundamentally sound football. Levante David does his job, and he's playing fundamentally sound. I look at Kalijah Cansey, look at Yaya Diaby, players like that are just doing their job. That's all you need to do. Don't go rogue. Don't try to play hero ball. Do what you're supposed to do, and everybody will come together, and it should all work out. See. Wow. Christopher Cole says Belichick to Dallas if they lose. Again, it's one of those games. I hate Dallas. I'm happy if they lose, but if it means keeping Mike McCarthy's bum ass, I would love to see him. I'd love to see them sign him for about 20 years or something like that, because I want Dallas to win anything. They don't deserve it. It's horrible. But anyway, I was just reading the chat, but I want to get back to this Bucs Eagles game. And I want to get your keys to the game on offense, and then I want you to go to defense and then go.
Keys on the offense will be Baker Mayfield needs to play smart football. If he is injured, sit his butt down. I mean, if he plays like he played at Carolina, put Trask in. And that's not the Florida homer in me. That is what's best for the Buccaneers. I mean, we're at the point where it's this game and you're done.
Yeah.
You win, you go on. You lose, you're done for the year. So as long as Baker plays clean football, smart football, run the ball, and that includes our second backup running back. Golly, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I mean, he did pretty well last week. Him rotating with Rachaad White. Run the ball and keep going. For defense, pressure. Got to have pressure. Stop the run and keep pressure on Jalen Hurts, especially
Chase Edmonds. You mean?
I'm sorry, what?
Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, Chase Edmonds. Thank you. Yeah, Chase Edmonds. I mean, he ran really well last week. For Jalen Hurts, got to keep pressure on him. I mean, did you guys see the picture on Twitter of his finger? Yeah. I mean, it was all jacked up.
Yeah.
And he can't even hold a football. Yeah. So
I will say this.
We may be playing Marcus Mariota. They may be playing against him.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, Rex made a great point. And I think I alluded to this earlier in the show, that the Buccaneers defense week 3 Buccaneers defense doesn't look like this defense that's going out on the field on Monday. No, doesn't look anything like it. When you consider the emergence of Yaya Diaby and Kalijah Cansey was not even playing in that game against the Eagles, in week 3. Was that week 3? I think it was week 3. Yeah. And so again,
Jay has been playing out of his mind. So, you're going to see him hyped up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's what's interesting is Devin White prophetically said, "Oh, we're going to see you again." And when that game was over, he said, "We're going to see him again." And here we are. And this is an opportunity for the Bucs to right or wrong. I would rather the Bucs lose in the regular season and win in the postseason. So this is definitely a great opportunity for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, it has to be a complete game. 4 quarters of football, all 3 phases of the game where you're talking, whether it's special teams, offense, or defense. These guys, everybody's just got to go out and execute. I mean, Chris Godwin can't be dropping balls. Mike Evans can't be dropping balls. These are things that we've seen. The only consistent pass catchers that we've had have been Chase Edmonds and Rachaad White. These are guys that are reliable catching the ball in the backfield, that speed and space and getting the ball up the field. And then we got to talk about coaching. Dave Canales. Dave Canales has to call a complete game. He has to call a complete game. There's no more on-the-job training. You had 17 games to get it right, figure out what works best, what doesn't work, and make it happen. And if things aren't working for you, being able to make adjustments. We've seen Dave Canales do this, so we know he's capable of making adjustments. And again, we need 4th down bowls. Todd, 4th down bowls, not New York Jets Todd or conservative Todd last year Todd. We need Todd 4th down bowls. This is it. You win it, you're in it. And you got to play it like this is the last game of the season, which it is. And that's how you have to call this game as a head coach. You have to, put all the fear and conservatism behind you, leave that in the regular season, and you got to go out there and get it, man. That's just what has to happen. So Bud Cannibal says, hot take, the Bears get Belichick, keep Fields, bring in Derrick Henry, draft Harrison Jr. Wow.
I don't think that's going to happen. But,
it would
be awesome.
You would just totally shake up the NFC North division. You would totally shake it all up.
Well, because they said they fire their defensive coordinator, but they kept their head coach. The Bears did. So I don't know what that's saying.
And I'm going to tell you, how many times in your experience have you seen where that's worked, where they fired a coordinator, whether it's the middle of the season or end of the season, going into, outside of, I guess with firing and never mind. I take that back. Forgot I said anything.
Last year.
Yeah, exactly. And it's worked for the better. Again, you've got a guy that's still learning on the job as he goes. But I think it's one of those things that Canales, if Canales has a successful season next year, it's going to be really hard to keep that guy around. And so it's going to be somebody's going to get crazy and take a chance on him. Trust me on that. I tell you, if he has a successful season.
I was listening to I can't remember what it was, a podcast. I was out hunting this morning, so I listen to podcasts when I'm out hunting, and
Nice.
They were talking about Dave Canales specifically. They were like, hey, the Bears would do well if they could weasel him away and move him up there, to work with Justin Fields, where they wouldn't have to, spend that number 1 and number 6 pick on a quarterback, because they know what they're getting at Justin Fields. So.
Yeah. I think Justin Fields has come on so strong in the back end of the season this year. Again, you can't, if you have to give a rookie at least 3 years at bare minimum 3 years before you decide, hey, do we move on from him, or do we start looking for another quarterback to possibly replace him? But he has not been given a fair shot. I don't think he's been given the tools to work with. And, whether it's the offensive line, whether it's wide receiver, whether it's running back, it just hasn't been the best of situations for him. And I think what we've seen from him in the back end of the season, it should give Bears fans a lot of hope.
My biggest fear, I think I heard it on Trevor Sickham was saying this when they did their draft this week, was the Bears trade Justin Fields to Atlanta as their quarterback, and not getting the number 8 draft pick. I mean, for like a second or third rounder,
Right.
and that to me, that scares me half to death. If you finally get a good quarterback in Atlanta, that team is going to be tough because they've got some powerful weapons.
Yeah, and again, it comes
8 for the last 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
And
You know what? I feel bad for Arthur Smith because I didn't realize that Kyle Pitts had a PCL injury. I had no idea. And everybody was like, "Oh, they don't know how to use this guy." But nothing was mentioned out of Atlanta about the lingering injuries that they had. And again, now you're bringing another coach in that's going to look like a genius because you'll have a healthy Kyle Pitts, and it bodes well for whoever's coming in. My man Steve Mandigo, what's going on, my man? If Dubois get fired, if we pick up Pistol Pete, Carroll staying in Seattle's front office as an advisor. He's doing some Bruce Arians. That's some BA stuff right there, bud. That's what I'm thinking.
I think they wanted to keep him around, but they just said it's time for him to basically retire from coaching. I mean,
do you feel like the game is passed him by? I mean, with Pete Carroll, when you look at the play calling, they said let Russ cook, and then Russ moved on. You get Dave Canales really works wonders with a Geno Smith who's on the last leg of his career, but they revitalize this guy, put him out there, put him in an offense that kind of works for him. And again, I don't know that he's the answer, but he's really made a lot of the Seattle games a lot more exciting than what they were. And
that's my biggest thing with Belichick too. Is he going to do well somewhere else?
Well, I'm going to say this. I think we got the better end of that deal with New England, because the question was it Tom Brady or was it Bill Belichick? Was it Tom Brady or was it Bill Belichick? I felt like at that point it was a marriage between the two, and a lot of your wide receivers were interchangeable. You get a good pass catching running back and a nice slant receiver that you can, somebody that you could throw to that's going to be consistent, which they had a lot of the times, and a good tight end. And they continuously had that formula throughout that dynasty, and they were able to do some things with it. Now you've got Bill Belichick. He doesn't have that Tom Brady-like decision-making quarterback, and it's going to be interesting to see what he looks like. Does he revert back to the pre-Patriots Bill Belichick, the Drew Bledsoe Bill Belichick, or does he continue to show how great he was? I mean, to me, I think that the Buccaneers won that deal with getting Tom Brady here to help this team win a Super Bowl in his first year here and keep this team competitive while he's here. And Tom Brady won games despite the offensive coordinator, and once Arians was gone, he was still able to win some games. So again, I think we're the Bucs are in a great place, and I just am not all that hyped up on Bill Belichick. That's just my opinion.
Well, I think Steve says it best down here. It says it's time to refresh the NFL with some new blood. I mean, when it comes to
100%.
Yeah, all the way, for sure. It's time.
And again, this is something I'm excited to see, man. Next year is going to be fun. I think the offseason is going to be a lot more fun. I think this toxic offseason this year, it was hard to deal with, man. I had to actually walk away from the podcast because people were just like out of their minds, and everybody was right. And, it turned out that what we saw, the product that we ended up with, the fact that the Bucs are in the playoffs, playing at home on a Monday night, it's exciting. Don't know what's going to happen. Don't know the outcome, but this has far exceeded my expectations. It's made the season fun for me. And before we roll out of here, last question for you, and question for you guys in the chat. Who is your MVP for this team just in the regular season and what they've done? Who is your MVP? It could be a GM, it could be a coach, coordinator, player, ball boy, somebody who's delivering beer in section 114, whoever it is. Who's your guy that this is my guy for the year?
ASJ.
All right. And
For sure. I can't. I mean, the Pro Bowl snub. The Pro Bowl's a joke anyway.
Yeah.
But
individual statistics.
yeah, I mean, I just look at the statistic. I love the last game when the broadcast even showed what did Buda Baker did, which I like Buda Baker, but it showed. Look at his stats compared to.
Yeah, Buda Baker was somebody I wanted to come to Tampa. No lie. I mean, that is no secret that I was disappointed that he didn't, but it was, we ended up with Antoine Winfield Jr., so it doesn't matter. And that's neither here nor there. So to me, the Pro Bowl is, the fans, and we're dealing with a different breed of fans than, in previous years where people were more not emotionally attached to a player, but they could look at statistics. They can look at plays and say, you know what, this guy's good. This guy's going to make the Pro Bowl, even better. But now it's like a popularity contest. It's more so than, oh man, look what this guy has contributed to his team. It's just not the same. So you can't take it serious. You kind of, I would say the same thing about All Pro, and the fact that, Antoine is not even mentioned with with the All Pros. For me, I got to go with my guy. And again, this is shooting fish in a barrel. And I probably shouldn't make this pick, but Mike Evans. Mike Evans is my guy. And Mike Evans, I mean, you can't go wrong with either pick. I could even go so far as to say like Kalijah Cansey or Yaya Diaby as honorable mentions. But Mike Evans, everybody said everybody outside of Tampa said Mike Evans is not going to get 1,000 yards. He's getting Baker Mayfield to throw to him. And I can promise you this, whoever has been throwing the ball to Mike Evans has shined. From Johnny Football to Baker Mayfield
to
everybody in between has shined. When you're throwing the ball to Mike Evans, you look good. You look sexy. You look like, oh man, I got to get this guy under center with us. That's what you're seeing. And again, Mike Evans does not get near the credit he deserves outside of the Tampa Bay area. And I think it's a travesty of justice. I keep hearing Keenan Ivory Wayans or Keenan Allen or whatever that fool's name is in San Diego, the guy that's always hurt. He's always talking about, well, you guys talk about Mike Evans. You guys need to mention me. No, fool. You're not even in Mike Evans' league. So you need to go on with that and, try not to stub your toe or anything. But when I look at Mike Evans, when I look at what he's done, doesn't matter who the quarterback is, he's made him look good. He just has. So Antoine, okay, Bud Cannabis has Antoine Winfield Jr. Rex Dillon, there's another one, Jason Light. Jason Light should be in the conversation for GM of the year. I promise you, Jason Light will be when he retires, he will go into the Ring of Honor. He could probably go into the Ring of Honor right now just for what he's done. And I will argue that with anybody. Steve says the Pro Bowl is a joke. I totally agree. Mr. Everything Buck says Antoine Winfield Jr. I like that. Rashad White, you cannot argue with Rashad White. And I've got receipts. I've got receipts from Twitter of all the dummies that were saying that the Bucs made a mistake bringing Rashad White in. And I'm like, did you guys not see the fluid motion he uses to catch the ball? Have you not watched his route running? A running back, I'm sitting here talking about a running back. This isn't a tight end or wide receiver. This is a running back running clean routes. And the speed and space and just the power. Again, this is literally his rookie season because he was playing behind Leonard Fournette. And people don't want to bring that point up. So, yeah, Rashad White, great choice for your player of the year or the guy that you look at as the bright spot for the Buccaneers this season. That's definitely a great choice.
Yeah, I've got I do play fantasy football, and I've got a what do they call it, where you play the same players every year.
Mhm. Mhm.
Dynasty League. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I get to keep like 10 players, and I was able to draft Rashad White this year, and I was like, okay, well, I'm playing him because, and I got Mike Evans and Rashad, and I ended up finishing second overall. But so I'm like, okay, I've got some good players, are setting me up for next year. I mean, the only reason I didn't win this year was because I had Tyreek Hill and he got hurt for the game, and he was he was really hobbled. So otherwise, and the other guy got like 40 points on one person or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely Rex. I agree. Him and Mike Greenberg, both of them, work so well together.
Oh, John Spytek, you got to talk. If you're talking talent evaluation, you got to bring up John Spytek as well. I mean, again, that back office does not get the credit they deserve. So, Bud Cannibals, yeah, that's why I always disrespect this fool, man. I can't stand Keenan Allen, or what is it, Keenan Thompson, or what's his name? The guy, Keenan Thompson, Keenan Allen. What is his name? The wide receiver for the
wide receiver is Keenan Allen, the one that for the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking of Saturday Night Live. I was thinking Keenan Thompson, but anyway, it doesn't matter. This guy is always trying to include himself in a conversation with Mike Evans, and whatever. Miss me with that.
Yeah, going back to what was it? I think it was Rex said about Jason Light. Did you guys check out, if you're not on X, on Twitter? You guys got to follow Jason Light. He he did a post that because Cam Jordan,
oh god,
did his thing and said, he put his video at the beginning of the years like, oh, Bucks will be Bucks, and Jason was like, yep, went back to being the Bucks champs again.
Poor little Cam. Woo woo woo. I can, just so you guys know, just because I figured Cam Jordan out. Cam has always been spicy when it came to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I don't know if you know this or not, but when the Buccaneers had an opportunity to draft him, they ended up drafting Adrian Claiborne. And then, pick 24, the New Orleans Saints ended up drafting Cam. And Cam has always been spicy when it came to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because he's lived in his feelings since the draft up until now because the Bucs didn't draft him. Woo, woo, woo. You know what? You can look, and I know, I could promise you Cam Jordan was throwing up in his mouth in 2020 when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl at home while he's at home watching the game. I know that he was sick. He was probably sick to his stomach because I don't think he even tweeted anything else out that offseason. That's just how sick he was that the Bucs ended up winning another Super Bowl. So to me, it all worked out for me, and I'm good with it.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Bud Cannibalist. Speaking of Greenberg, I don't want to lose him to Carolina. I think Greenberg knows that David Tepper is a psychopath, and who wants to work under a egotistical owner like that? You might as well go to Dallas.
Person.
Yeah, the guy is horrible. But anyway, update. The Tampa Bay Lightning are up 3-1. Yeah. And if you guys get a chance, I know that we want to support the community. I love the Tampa community. Whether it's the Rays or the Lightning or the Bucks, the Rowdies, whatever it is, I try to be as supportive as I can. It looks, and I was on the We the Thunder podcast. They do a show all the time on Wednesdays, and I jumped on and actually hijacked the show, by the way. I'm proud of myself for that one there. And, I had a great time just kind of supporting the Tampa Bay Lightning. If you guys get a chance, great time. If you can go to a Lightning game, there's no other experience like it. And I know you'll have a great time. Steve, my man Steve, is always doing something to, whether it's contributing tickets or just insight, as far as the Lightning go. And, I appreciate Steve. He actually came over from We the Thunder, and he's kind of joined us over here, and I appreciate that. And, again, hopefully I get to run into you at some point. I'm thinking I'll be back for the St. Patrick's Day parade for Crew of Santa Margarita, and I'll be able to kind of link up with some people that I can get to at when I'm in Tampa next week. So again, it's going to be fun.
Hey,
And
Gene, can you give us an update on what happened? I mean, Gasparilla, how did that go?
Gasparilla is next. The kids parade is next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
And the following Saturday is the day parade. I'm gonna be freezing my nuts off here next week. If the forecast stays the way it is, it's looking like a high of like 55, 60, somewhere off in there. So we'll see how it all goes. But it's all for a good cause. Throw some beads out to some kids and just have a blast. So, it's going to be fun. As Bud said, go Bolts. Yeah, it was, again, it's just a lot of fun. And Steve does a great job donating seats, just so people can experience this. And hopefully Steve becomes a lifelong member of the show. He's always welcome to come on here as well. So, we'll work out the logistics on that. But God, we've been talking for almost an hour and a half. That's crazy. I didn't expect it to go that long. But anyway, I could always talk football. I can always talk sports or, just current events or whatever. This is my favorite time of the year. It's Gasparilla season. As soon as, the first of the year comes around, I always get excited, start getting my beads, getting my pirate costume together, getting my boots and my pistols and sword and getting everything all packed up to go down there and invade. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's one thing about it. I don't live in Florida. I don't live in Tampa anymore. I used to way back mid 80s, and I moved away, went in the military, and I live up in Georgia right now. And so, yeah, I miss
enemy territory. You're around them idiots.
Yeah, I know. I'm surrounded by Falcons people.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's disgusting.
You got to take a shower every day. I know it's just crazy.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I miss.
And I don't know if you know this or not. I don't know if I got to share the story with you, but I do. Right, Dallas and Atlanta are two teams that I hate. It used to be Green Bay because we were all in the same division, and Green Bay would come to Tampa and infest Houlihan Stadium all the time, the big sombrero, and they'd come in there and just try to take over everything. So I had a long-standing rivalry with Green Bay, and then we moved over to the new division, and you got to deal with Atlanta, and those delusional idiots right there never won anything. They've gone to some Super Bowls, but they never won anything. But you would listen to them, you would swear that they've won like every Super Bowl that there's ever been. Thank God for Tom Brady and that 28-3 debacle that they suffered, because it sent the fans scurrying into hiding. They've been in hiding for a little bit, and I'm good with that. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. I just do not like Atlanta. So that's the point I was getting to in a roundabout way. But Steve, next year I could get you on as a guest, and I can get you on the float as a guest, my friend, and we can have some fun. But yeah, definitely going to be a great time, and I will be live somewhere in Tampa. I don't know where yet, but I'll be at some brewery hanging out, doing Buc What You Heard, probably on a Friday. It will be on a Friday because I will be getting into Tampa late. I will be at the press box probably about 10 on Thursday. So if you're at the press box, I'm going to stop by there, grab some wings, hang out for a little bit. You know how I do. But anyway, it is what it is. And David, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you. And we'll have you on next week because I definitely want to get your thoughts on the aftermath of the game, win or lose.
I went ahead and put it in the chat. It's at the David Wash is the easiest way to get me on X. You follow me, I'll follow you back, just like Gene. And that's actually how I met Gene and KB, was both of them on X. Started following them, listening to them, found out about the show, started watching the show, and now I get to help Gene out whenever KB can't. Sometimes,
yeah, man, you get to listen to my ramblings for a whole hour, so
that's great. I mean, because again, I live in Georgia, so I don't get to talk Buccaneers football with hardly anybody. So I just love the fact of, with you guys in the chat, reading all the stuff you guys are saying, and just talking to JC earlier and to KB earlier, and to Gene. It's a blast for me. It's what I look forward to each week.
All right. Well, we'll have to get you on more often, my friend. And we're going to go ahead and get out of here. I know there's a lot of stuff that you could be doing. I may jump on this weekend and do a live on just watching the games, just kind of to see, who we may play next, or, what may happen, or if we don't play anybody next, just to kind of go over the game. You may see me on here. But yeah, it's Steve was asking, when are you on? I'm trying to get him on weekly, because it's been kind of hard. It's been kind of hit and miss not having a permanent co-host with KB, traveling a lot. So it's
I'm retired, so I'm always here.
yeah. So you never know. You will probably see him, consistently, especially in the off season as we get ready towards the draft, or regardless of what happens, we'll definitely be on during the off season, as this season has exceeded our expectations.
Oh yeah, and I love draft season. That's one of my favorites. Looking at the possible replacements and free agency and all that. That's to me that's the fun time. Waiting for the games to actually start, and then again this year, being in the playoffs, getting to the playoffs. That's what it's all about.
Go.
Go Bucs.
Oh, Steve was asking, do you have your own podcast? Yours is more along sci-fi.
I have one, but it's a science fiction one. Me and some friends that do it. It's called These Sci-Fi Guys. It's just me and some other guys. We do it. We just get along and we just talk about movies. So, but I don't do it live or anything. It's just something I throw on YouTube. But otherwise,
nice.
It's just something different.
Well, and I know you'll agree with me that Captain Kirk's karate chop is the most deadliest thing.
Oh, it's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah, I could go on and on. All right, guys. Well, we are out of here. Again, you can reach me at Buc What You Heard. You follow me, I will follow you back. And as my man Dave will tell you, he can attest to that. I do. And look for us next week. You may catch me again, like I said, this weekend. Look for the alerts. If you're not following, make sure you're like and subscribe. It would greatly help me out. And I will see you next week. Everybody, we are out of here.
Peace.